Okay, well, that's a little annoying, but I'll explain what just happened. So, is my, yeah, dude. I started the stream maybe what, 15 minutes ago? No, 10 minutes ago? No, almost 15 minutes ago. Yeah. And I actually continued streaming as if everything was working, but actually my stream got cut off 2 seconds in. And so what happened is I actually finished the first passage in 6 minutes, and 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So it took me some time, actually, a little more time than usual. I finished the first passage, um, and I kind of, I just missed it. Like I didn't record any of that, so kind of annoying. But I can't redo. I can't redo everything, but I can just sort of do like a gloss of what happened. Okay, so I'll have to just do it from basically memory and show you what happened with the first passage. Okay, so this, I'll come back to this and show you what happened with the first passage. I literally just took it. That said, because I had to make some announcements at the beginning of the stream, I should at least do that. So here's my quick, I have to recap everything I just said like 15 minutes ago, but let me do that again. Let's see. So, right, okay. So today I am, okay, I'll start all over. Hey guys, welcome to SAT Solved Live 2017 May US edition. Right now I'm about to finish off the EBRW writing test, okay, that I couldn't finish yesterday when I was trying to do both the reading and the writing tests. Turns out it's extremely tiring to be doing the reading and the writing in one stream, especially with the format that I was using yesterday. As some of you guys may know, at least if you saw yesterday's stream, the format is basically this. I go into a passage, I start the clock, I run the clock until I finish the passage, I stop the clock. Then I explain everything that I summarize everything that I remember from that passage so that you can compare with me how you remember the passage and how I remember the passage. Then I start the clock again and I finish answering all the questions, and then I stop the clock, and then I score myself and give my final thoughts as well as answer any questions in the chat. Well, that was fine for the first passage, second passage, third passage. What you might have noticed though is that last stream yesterday when I did the reading test, for the first 4 passages I was totally fine. I got 41 out of 41. Then from questions 42 to 52, which is 11 questions total, out of 11 questions, I crashed and burned. It was a mess. It was a hot mess. I got 4 wrong out of 11. Moreover, you could tell when I was sharing my summary of the passage, I basically didn't really, I remembered what it was saying, but it was very fuzzy compared to the early parts of the test. And I was just sort of struggling to even focus. So, it's, I made 4 mistakes, whatever, that happens. But what I realized is, it's actually really pretty difficult for me to do 5 passages in that format of reading. So I have 2 choices here. I'm at a juncture where either I lighten the format or I just do fewer tests. But right now, leading up to the May SAT and then also the June SAT after that, I want to cover as many tests as possible. So I would rather lighten the format rather than take extra time on each test. So in keeping with that purpose, today I'm going to just finish off the writing right now, now, okay? But after that, I will stream again in literally 3 hours or so. And I'm going to do the reading and the writing for the 2018 March, but I will keep it a little less talky, less emphasis on like the explanations and more emphasis on just getting through the test and sharing with you guys what I was thinking. So less interaction, less explanation, more just taking the test, okay? That's the way that I can imagine myself actually doing the whole EBRW section in one sitting. Because even just doing those 5 passages took me 3 hours with all my explanations in between, whereas, the actual EBRW is only supposed to take 65 minutes. So it's very tiring. Anyway, today I have my hot water next to me so that I can keep my throat nice and warmed up and, keep myself going on this stream. So guys, thanks for understanding. And also, if you have any concerns, like the way that I change things up, if that changes the way that you study or whatever, or that changes the value, like how much value you're getting from these videos, I'd like to know, because I'm making this decision because it seems like it's the right decision for me, but I can be persuaded if it's not the right decision, if you would actually benefit from something else. So just let me know what works for you, okay? All right. I'm about to get back into passage 1, which I just finished like 5 minutes ago. Let's get into it. So I zoned out at first, so it took me a while to like get into the zone. And, for number 1, I was just like, when it has, and then it turns out it says that has, right? So C works. And then I was looking at the a park, monument, or other type of protected area. So I went with that very quickly. Then with 3, I was like with, and I just saw that, checked it, and then I selected A. And by the end of the first paragraph, which was 1 minute and 45 seconds, it's kind of long actually, it shouldn't be this long. I realized that the whole passage is going to be about how federally protected lands, such as a park, okay, like a national park, federally protected lands are beneficial. So this whole passage is going to have multiple paragraphs talking about the benefits of a federally protected land area, okay? So it's really critical to understand what the passage is about. It's going to make everything much easier. So then I took a moment to explain that, and then, excess of too many is just an excess of way too many words, so I fixed that up. Then I put a colon there, but it turned out to just be a period, but same thing, same difference. Over here in the Western United States, I looked at this without looking at the question, and I kind of explained my thought process. Like, man, political controversy doesn't seem like the right topic because we're supposed to be talking about benefits, right? So then I was looking at this and I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely talking about benefits from an economic standpoint of like job growth and like tourism revenue. So I was like, no, that's definitely not political controversy. That's definitely like economic benefits. And then I chose B. And then I saw job growth more than 300%. That's amazing. Now, if that's just true, then that's a perfectly on topic, very relevant point. So I just double checked the chart and chose, right? I double checked the chart. I double checked the 1970 to 2010. I double checked this. Okay. Oops. I double checked that. I double checked that. And then I double checked this, right? Hang on. As well as employment this is job growth. Employment percent change is the same as job growth. So yeah, so I double checked all that, and then I saw that A is the correct answer. Okay, job growth, right? More than 300%. More than 300%. Perfect. And and then with more than 30% of the land. So I chose all that. Okay, more than 30% of the land protected. Huge job growth. So I chose A. Now after that, I went into who spent. That's a very easy relative clause, and then At first, I was kind of like dancing around, like looking at this number, but then I realized, the correct answer choice had 5,000. So over here, got that out of the way. Obviously, with a subordinate clause over here, the subordinate clause, you want to have no comma, unless that comma is strictly necessary, like super important for clarification, but generally you don't want that comma. So I just chose that. And then over here, I was like, additional laws are needed. What? That doesn't make any sense, because that's not what the topic is about. In the first paragraph, what did we talk about? We talked about federally protected lands actually benefits. So I just need federally protected lands benefiting. And so we should actually invest more, in fact, if anything. So that's like a counter argument to that idea that it's too expensive. That took me about 7 minutes. That's on my stopwatch over here, so you can see it. And I haven't actually scored it yet, so I'm about to score it now. Hang on, I had my answer choices. I had my answer sheet ready somewhere, but now it's gone. Give me a sec. This is May, right? Let me see if oops. Okay, May. Okay, and we are at writing questions 1 through 11. 1 through 11. Writing 1 through 11. Here we go. I chose CB, cool, and then ADD, cool, and then BA, cool, and then CBDC, cool. So that is 11 out of 11. All right, so that's the first passage. The most important, the one tip I can give about the first passage is, hey, you really need to know what this topic is about. Super important. Okay, you just need to understand that, and everything else will follow pretty quickly. All right, I'm about to get into the second passage now. Here we go. I'm at 6:50. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Oh, not tired. Excited to learn something interesting. Historical detail. What does that mean? Sure. Many films depict the historical figure. Take, for example, the Great 2020 film or the 12 Years a Slave, 1853. Both these guys hired historical consultants. It's about a job of the historical consultant who helps with these films. Okay, so historical consultants for films. Some filmmakers and they provide, opinion on these kinds of things. Okay. Some filmmakers expect long-term projects. Other filmmakers give short-period projects. So I would just put a semicolon there. Hang on. What? 13? Oh, I'm looking at 12. Sorry, I just got confused. While others assign tasks. Yeah, that works. While is great for comparison or contrast. I mean. All right. In 2003, so that just took me what, 805? Okay. In 2003, historical film, 1805 Warship. Okay. Spent months operating cannons, regardless of the scope. However, they spent months. The task of a historical consultant is always the same: enhance the accuracy. Vetted the script of 12 Years a Slave. And no, that's background, and we want something about vetted the script and something about historical accuracy, and disseminate. Wrote the credits about the mystery. Okay, that makes sense. That actually helps with accuracy. 850. Here we go. While historical integrity is important, Some directors spend too much time worrying. Why would we focus about worrying? We're talking about a historical consultant, the job. Historical consultant for master and commander might say, okay, so let's figure out what this paragraph's about. Okay, I'm not going to answer 14 yet. Might say the director's desire to emphasize meant dumping. What? Could. Okay, hang on. Will have said, for instance, said, okay. Yeah, just past tense, said the director to emphasize meant scrapping the periods formal social, disregarding, it would be, okay. So disregarding means like we're neglecting it. Wow, that's kind of tough. Acknowledging tension between competing demands of accuracy and art. The more real it is, this is perfectly fine, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay. The more real it is, the more the movie moves effortlessly forward because people are thinking, but you don't want to give up the drama of the story just to be terrible. Meant disregarding. Yeah. So sometimes you want to override the historical accuracy, which is D. That's definitely correct. That is 10-20. Okay. So that was up until 17. This deliberate decision to forego accuracy for cinematic effect, however, may be met with criticism. Yeah, criticism, however, is fine. That's fine. Sometimes you do it deliberately, but it causes problems. The screenwriter portrayed as voting against the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, wrote a letter, correct the error. They said upheld expectations, it illustrated the narrow vote, and consultant defended the script. Okay, that is 1105. Why then is historical accuracy important in films? Have a great, this could be correct. This might be correct. I'm not sure. Why is it important? That could be a reasonable transition. Great responsibility. How they present the past is how it gets remembered. Okay. Ensure. I'm going to just go for ensure that filmmakers take this responsibility seriously. Okay. Preserve the intricacy. So I think this, why is it important, makes sense. Let's see. No, who are less concerned. No. Do movies that require, no. What sources, no. A is correct. And 21, a British historian. This has, I actually missed this earlier. It's double comma. So we're good with the double comma. And so that is 1205, stop. Okay. 1205. And I am about to get into the score. I'm confident in all those questions, so let's get into it now. 12 and 13, I chose, where are we here? I chose A, B, correct. D, B, D, A. D, hang on, where are we? D, B, D, A, correct. C, A, C, B, correct. So we are 11-4-11, 1205. All right, so this camera angle is kind of awkward where you're just like looking at my head, huh? I'm gonna have to tie my hair up. But we are at 11-4-11 at 1205. It took me 7 minutes on the first passage, but only 5 minutes on the second passage. And the reason is because I'm kind of like getting into the zone now. I'm getting focused. It's not because this one was much easier than the first one. They were actually both pretty easy, I thought. Although I guess the first one did have some tables. So maybe you guys have a similar experience where the first passage took longer. Anyway, here are my tips for this particular passage. Let me find this. Besides the, my general tips, which you guys should know, for this particular passage, just keep remembering that every passage has to be about, it's going to be some a further explanation of what a historical consultant does, and naturally, very naturally, it would make sense if the final paragraph is about why it's all important, right? That'd be very natural transition to a conclusion. If that doesn't seem natural to you, it means that you're not used to like typical structures of essays, and so you need to get better at composition. So it might, if you're still kind of young, if you're like 9th grade or 10th grade, you're not rushing to take the SAT, I would actually recommend you buy a decently rated composition book that talks about how to construct paragraphs and simple 5-paragraph essays of different types, like expository, descriptive, whatever, argumentative. They'll go through different types of essays with you, and that would help you understand like how how essays should be structured, and it'll make you more familiar with these kinds of things. So that's one way you can improve on that. Okay, but anyway, the key thing is you must understand that we are talking about. In fact, I'll highlight it in red. We're talking about historical consultants who provide expert opinion in these films, right? You need to just really know that you need to predict that all the paragraphs are going to be about what the historical consultants do and why they're useful and blah, blah, and then at the very end, hey, why then are historical consultants important? Why is their work important? You should be like, oh, that makes sense. It shouldn't be too scary. This question 20 shouldn't be too scary. All right, now I'm going to get into passage 3. I'm at 12:05, but I feel weirdly self-conscious about showing you the top of my head like this. So I'm gonna tie my hair up. Give me a sec. Oh, dude, I actually am a little tired, but let me just do this real quick. All right, now I am feeling fresh, I guess. Okay. Yeah, let's do it, man. Here we go. Questions 23 to 33. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Legal non-representation. What? Okay, all my life, we're talking about artists. We have been captured the essence of flight, burden space, abstract art. We're talking about art right now. What's legal non-representation? Oh, so non-representative art is an idea, by the way. But is that what he's talking about? Abstract is non-representative. Abstract is non-representative art. Just FYI, it is not it's not a representation. Instead, it's an arc of bronze that calls to mind the motion of the bird with its ends. Okay, with its ends. Oh, did I miss the first? Did I miss the first transition? I felt like this transition was okay. The sculptor. Maybe an introduction to bird in space. Yeah, that makes sense. This introduces bird in space. So yes, and then transition between the goal and the disc. Yes, perfect. So that's 24, and then much appears suspended. Much appears suspended in the air. More than just a visually arresting sculpture then. It was, however, then would make it sound connected, but this is not connected. Okay, however, it was responsible for changing how the government recognizes art, which is connecting to the legal non-representation. So apparently, I'm actually kind of curious. Let me pause really quickly. I'm pausing just to do a quick explanation. Thematically, this is a much more complex idea than the first two passages, but very interesting to me. Now, that said, there is a caveat. I have read these writing passages before. The reading passages I've never read before. The writing passages I have read before. I don't remember when I read them. Okay, it's probably like a year or so ago when I first started tutoring on and off. I wasn't full-time tutoring yet, but I read this and I don't remember what happens. Okay, I just know that I've read it, but I can't predict exactly what happens. But I can say, well, legal is connected to government. Now representation is connected to abstract art, but it's a pun because if you are not legally represented, it means you don't have a legal standing of some sort. So apparently, abstract art went from a position of not being represented in the law to being represented in the law, whatever that means. Okay, so I'm very interested in what that means. Okay, so I just wanted to set that out as a comment. I'm going to start time again. 3, 2, 1, let's go. So that took me 1410. Here we go. In the 20s, was a new phenomenon. So it was unsurprising that it had a mix. It wasn't very popular. They couldn't find artistic value. In fact, they didn't even think of it as a work of art. They called it a half a propeller, while another called it, we probably want a second example, exactly. Another called it, another mocked it. Yeah, perfect. We want a second example. Just double checking the other ones. Yeah, no, these are not. We want a second example that's similar. Okay, so yeah, we want to be making fun of it. I'm actually going to write the time for that one. That one took a little extra time. Within the art world, however, is beautiful. Okay, so over here in the 20s, it was not generally popular, but in the art world, it was recognized. Okay, so right now we're at 1520. Then the importation of the sculpture brought it to the attention of the Bureau. That's the legal part. Okay, the view of the general public who thought it wasn't art, not as a work of art, but as an object. They classified it. Wow, works of art could be duty-free. Works of art. Get rid of the could. Get rid of the comma. Could be imported duty-free, but industrial were taxed up to 40% of their materials. There is correct. Purchase value. Okay, so as a result, had a huge import tax. We're at 16 minutes. Brancusi, in turn, sued the government, aiming to secure recognition of his sculpture as art of naturally. So the court case, Brancusi, attempted to answer for the public of whether it should be considered art, and of course it wins. We're gonna win. It's a happy story. After hearing a lineup of well-known, famous. You only need well-known or famous. Here, famous. That's correct. Art critics testified to the aesthetic. The courts, after hearing you want to say the court. All right. After hearing the court was in favor of Brancusi, the decision meant that the public artistic, the public, it's a little if, and the value, I guess. Does the government stand for the public, and does the court stand for the public? Maybe it's. I feel a little iffy about that. Was it great for art collectors? No. Broaden the range of art acknowledged by the government. Cool. From then, customs law would recognize what that. Ooh, that is oddly specific. Okay, concerning the value, yeah, sure. Take many more. However, that's such a negative way to. It reiterates the main idea. Who is the main idea? The public recognizing the artistic value, or is the main idea what the government recognizes? I think it's 17. Okay, that is 1745. Okay, so I think it's 1745. Sorry, I think it's C. I mean, 1745. That seems is like decent time, but I just want to double check over here. I'll do it in blue to show me. No, green just to stay consistent. Yeah. I'm gonna go with it. I'm medium high confidence on that one, so let's stop it at 1815. Stop. Okay. I'm just gonna put a check mark so I can show what I was thinking at the time. 1815. Whew. All right. So that took me about 6 minutes for that one passage, which is not bad. It's what I'd be expecting for myself. Now let's get into the scoring, because I'm pretty much confident on everything else for sure, and medium high confidence on that one. But now I'm getting more high confidence the more I think about it. 23 to 26, I chose B, D, D, C. B, D, D, C, cool. Then we have B, C, A, B, C, A, cool. And then we have B, D, C, C, B, D, C, C, correct. So now I am 11 out of 11, or 33 out of 33 so far. Okay, I see we have a viewer, but no questions. So moving on to, since there's no questions, tips first. Tips for this particular passage. Actually, yeah, I think the tip is literally the thing I wrestled with in the very first paragraph. Strongly, again, I cannot continue to emphasize enough how important it is that you understand what the passage is about. I don't know how many kids I've had to sort of fix their habits after they learn from some other tutor that they shouldn't even look at and read the passage at all. Now, some kids spend too much time reading the whole passage, which we can manage, but I would say most kids overcorrect and they don't read enough. Okay? You got to understand what the passage is about, especially in the first paragraph. Specifically, after the first paragraph, you should sort of have a prediction of what kinds of things will come out. Well, we have 3 body paragraphs that kind of support the idea that federal government lands are going to be positive or whatever. You have to imagine what might come out. That's specifically what you want after you finish the first paragraph. If you can't imagine what might come out, you didn't do it right. Here, though, the tip is changing how the government recognizes art, right? It was responsible for changing how, then you should realize this is going to become a story, a narrative, okay, about bird in space, and it's going to show from how it goes from not to yes, legally represented. You should be able to predict that after the first paragraph. As long as you got that, you're good. All right, that is the third, and that is the third passage of the writing test. So now I'm about to go into the final passage. Here we go. I'm at 18:15. I have a lot of time, honestly, but I'm just gonna keep the regular pace that I always keep. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Petrified lightning. I don't know what that means. What is petrified lightning? Okay. 2,000 is roughly the number. Roughly 2,000 thunderstorms rage. Approximately 2,000. Yes, there we go. Over the earth at any given time, and that lightning strikes the ground 20 times every second, up to 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, far hotter. Yeah. Silica, okay, cool. I just double check the rest of that sentence to make sure that the far hotter, under certain circumstances, stop. The reason I'm cutting myself on mid-sentence is I'm kind of rushing on to the next idea, but I want to finish that sentence. I did comma far hotter, and then I took a moment to just double check the whole sentence to make sure that the rest of the sentence made sense, that there's not some sort of weird comma splice issue going on. So I just went, lightning bolts can be up to 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, comma, far hotter than the melting point of silica, period. If it was like that, 100% no problem, right? But it said, but you know, it depends on how the rest of the sentence concludes, that this comma could theoretically be changed. I can't think of an example right away, and you know, I just want to keep focusing on the test, but yeah, it could be changed. And then it says the comma that is the primary constituent of sand and most types of rock. This is just describing silica, okay? So no problems there. All right, had to double check that before fully committing to the D as the correct answer. Even though D was exactly what I was predicting, I predicted it without fully reading that sentence. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. When lightning strikes sand or rock, the evidence of the strike is left behind in the form of a fulgurite called petrified lightning, which is okay. So lightning creates a certain type of thing because of how hot it is. Okay, that is 1920. Notice I spent a little extra time on the introduction paragraph to make sure I understand what we're talking about. Here we go. First discovered in 1706. Fulgurites and rock fulgurites, these formations, petrified lightning, I guess it refers to fulgurites, so one is fine. Sand fulgurites and rock fulgurites, which are much less common. As it cools, the silica, it is a little iffy. Sand, the silica lining, yeah, this 2 is definitely in the wrong position. Sentence 4 should be placed after sentence 1. I almost already know. I'm just going to double check. Sand fulgurites form when the intensity creates a melted silica. I see. And then the silica is the it. So that makes sense. Sand fulgurites is talking about the first topic over here, form when the intense energy of lightning bolt rapidly heats moist air, trapped inside silica. As the silica cools, the lining forms a glass wall cavity that may look like a plant's root system. Sand that adhered to the molten silica as a solidified forms a casing or in the flat. Sure. Rock fulgurites, we're transitioning, perfect, found almost exclusively on the piece, appears a thin glassy crust on the surface of a rock or along fractures within of rocks. Wait, because of the them, of rocks. The surface of rocks or within them. Okay, that's a tricky question. You got to get that one. So that is 2105. Okay, those are tricky. Because glass is very resistant to weathering, fulgurites may last a very long time. The oldest example is estimated to be 250 million. That's fine, I guess. Yeah. D can also work, but no. Oh, hang on. D has to work because may last a long time and give scientists. Last and give. Okay, they're parallel. So may last a long time. Because glass is very resistant, it lasts a long time. Yeah, we need that. So that is correct. Wow, that's also pretty tricky. 2145. The formation of a fulgurite occurs in only a fraction of a second. It happens very quickly. So air bubbles are often trapped, and they can be analyzed to reveal. Okay, cool. So remember, well, actually, I don't even remember. What are we talking about at this point, right? I'm trying to imagine like characteristics of this fulgurite, and we're talking about how it's really useful, okay, for understanding the past. But look at this. Demonstrate that the region, yeah, great, because it teaches us about atmospheric composition at the time. Yeah, because it. Yeah. Perfect. That is now 2240. Okay, for that paragraph. There's also a practical reason, we want to focus on practical, for studying. When they dig them up very carefully, it feels kind of iffy. They can remain intact after they're extracted. How is that practical? Causing out, but the effects, but the effects of lightning on berry were not investigated until the 1990s. Has shown that lightning can also disable the effects of lightning on berry power lines. Can also disable underground power systems because the strikes keep moving below ground. But fulgurite, okay, we're looking for what fulgurites are practically useful for. I'm curious about that around berry power systems. Helps, is helping. Examination helps scientists, is helping scientists determine the most effective shielding materials. Shielding materials, okay. Florida averages about 25 each year, so the scientists hope their work can mitigate the damage. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. But I just need to go and find what this topic is. That doesn't seem to make there's a practical reason for studying fulgurites. When you talk about lightning placement failures, okay. Above ground power line, okay, that could make some sense, but that's a practical problem. Yeah. Failures, system failures, when thunderstorm activity is high, they're often struck by lightning. But berry power lines, lightning can also, okay. Mitigate the damage. Okay, so that is a practical benefit. That was tricky. So fulgurites can help with mitigating damage from these storms, which makes perfect sense. 24:55, and I'm going to stop. All right, that's my time. And I'm pretty confident. I didn't circle any of these to come back to them, so I'm pretty confident on all of them. Let's go into the answer choices. Again, like I said in the third passage, I have seen the writing passages before, but I didn't really remember what they were about, and the questions felt basically neat to me. For what it's worth, I'm going to tell you the exact honest truth. I've seen them maybe once before, but yeah, I didn't really remember these questions. 34, I chose BD. All right, cool. BD. Really? BD, correct. And then here. Oh, what? How come I didn't choose? I did choose, but there was like a bug. There was a weird bug there, so I chose ABC. ABC, correct. And then over here, DA, correct. All right, so that's the answer choices. And that's the answers. I got 44 out of 44. Feeling good. Oops. Perfect, 0 error writing score. -4 on the reading though, so that's pretty silly. All right, so on the EBRW, if I got, let's actually see, do they have a scale for this one? If I accept the 4 that I got wrong, okay, then I would have on this particular test curve. Okay, I'll actually show you what I'm looking at so that you're not just left out. So I'll just use this curve and I'll double check with this curve. So reading, I got 4 wrong, so I would have gotten a 790. Okay, I got 4 wrong. Oh my god. Oh, this was a hard test, huh? You could get up to 4 wrong and still only get, anyway. So I would have gotten, right, 40 139, which would have added up to 79 times 10, 790. So annoying. I made all those mistakes on the fifth passage. I kind of wish I could have shown you how I would have read that passage, the fifth passage, when I wasn't super tired. But there's no way around it, so that's what it was. That was my first time seeing that passage, and that's how it will live forever on YouTube. So that was that. I liked the rhythm of taking the writing test, just continuing it like that. I want to keep that same rhythm for the reading test when I do it again on March 2018, for the March 2018 test later tonight, or later, like literally, I want to start 2 hours from now. So I'll be starting the 2018 March very soon. I want to do the reading and the writing this time though, so I want to keep it snappy. I want to keep it going. Let's see how much time this took me. It took me 45 minutes. Yeah. So if I could finish the reading in 2 hours, that'd be amazing, right? I know, because reading does require some more explanation, but yeah, the goal is to basically finish the reading in 2 hours and the writing in 1 hour. So I guess that'll be how I'll try to do the 2018 March stream later today. Again, of course, I'm keeping the 65-minute time, but I'm just going to reduce my explanations and shorten my answers to people's questions in the chat. If you want to see how I solved the 2018 March, come back in 2 hours. I'll see you guys in the next one. And everybody, just keep everything in perspective. All right, the SAT is not the end-all be-all of your existence. Just please remind yourself of this. You are a good person. You're a generous person. You're a loving person. You're a studious person. You're a diligent person. Whatever you are, right? You are a good person who has interests, and you're gonna get really into your interests, and that's gonna separate you from the other people, around you, right? Whatever they are, develop those interests and be someone who's really interested in something. And the SAT is just one metric for demonstrating your readiness for college. That's all it is. Okay, so keep that in mind. Guys, keep your spirits up, keep on growing. I'll see you guys in the next one.